Hello, everyone, and welcome to the second installment of the Kent State KSUIF Speaker Series. Today, we have a student and alumni from Kent State. He is a 23-year-old filmmaker based out of Cleveland, Ohio. He graduated in 2019 from KSU, majoring in digital media production and a minor in sociology. At the age of 20, he directed his first feature film, Fly By Night, alongside co-director Jimmy Naples. He is also the writer-director of the short film Hooded, which screened in festivals such as Film Festival of Columbus and Sindependent Film Festival. He has a love for creative storytelling and a focus in addressing social issues, hoping that his art can change the world. He has experience working in positions throughout pre-production, production, and post-production. And that guest is Mr. Nate Shively. Hello, Nate. How are you doing today?
What's up, Sam? I'm good. Thanks for having me. And
I'm happy here. What happened today? Anything new exciting in your life, Nate?
Today I was filming a product explainer video for a vacuum sealing packaging company. So that was fun. So yeah, just doing a bunch of weird videos right now, and that's been pretty much all of COVID right now. Is just very weird videos.
Small things to keep you busy at your just small commercial issues, commercial products. And you're also doing weddings, I heard.
Yeah, I do weddings on the side. I try to get like a couple every year. This year, because of COVID, I had them all basically rescheduled to September, so I had 4 this month. That's not ideal. If you've ever shot a wedding, you know how much footage that is and how much editing that's going to be. So I'll be editing probably till like March of next year with wedding videos. But yeah, it's a nice side business. You know, once you get in, it's really low commitment, and yeah, it's been a nice little side gig for me.
What's the average amount of footage you get for those? You said a lot.
Yeah, I mean, for weddings that I do, I'll only bring myself. I won't have like any other second shooters or anything like that. But I'll probably shoot about 300 gigs of stuff, just 4K. I use one camera. I have a GH4 that I use, and yeah, I mean, it's a lot because over 4 weddings in a month, that's about over a terabyte. So I go through a lot of hard drives, and that's the last thing you want on a hard drive to crash is a wedding footage. So I always have backup hard drives for that, and yeah, it's a good amount of footage for sure.
Wow, I couldn't imagine storing that, at least yet. I have to learn about backing up all that footage, because that's never happened. You've never lost any footage for those, right?
No, I've never knock on. Yeah, exactly. I gotta knock on some wood now. No, yeah, I mean, that's the last thing you want as a bride. Like, brides are the toughest clients sometimes, and if you tell them, "Hey, your biggest day, I don't have any," it's like, yeah, that's something I don't want to experience. So I always have I get like those. I really like those lacy drives, so like the orange like rugged look, and I'll get like 3 or 4 of those. Have one as a primary hard drive, and one is just all backup. Don't even touch it, and that's been a good workflow for me. So. I had a Seagate hard drive one time that crashed on me and lost everything from it. So if you're looking to get a Seagate hard drive, I've had bad experiences.
That's good to know for the future. As I said in your bio, you had directed a feature film, Fly By Night, in 2017?
Yeah, that was summer of 2000. No, that was summer of 2000. Yeah, I mean, well, when I got hired for the job like January of 2017, and then the movie premiered April of 2018. So working on that movie was a little over like a year and a half pre-production to release. So it was a long process, but yeah, that was me and Jimmy Naples who co-directed with me, and that was, I want to say, about like 60 people over summer working on the movie. Everybody had a unique position, and It's the first feature film at Kent that wasn't based on a college campus. So like every movie before then was, Unlucky, Hell at Heathridge, Research the Musical, can't forget that classic. All of those were shot on Kent's campus featuring college students. So Fly By Night was a little interesting because did not take place at any point of a college campus being part of the plot. And that was both nice and also a challenge. Locations were a lot tougher, obviously. And yeah, we worked on that pretty much 3 months of shooting, and then editing was a beast. Editing was like 6 to 7 months because we spent an entire semester just picture editing, making sure the video was good. Then we had an entire semester making sure the audio was good, doing all the post sound.
Awesome. And everyone watching, please send questions if you have for Nate. We'll address those when it's a right time or just at the end of the discussion. But for now, we'll talk a little bit more about Fly By Night while we're here. For that project, you said about like 60 people on the project, and it took over 2 months. You said, like, in full production.
Yeah, we had about I want to say 51 filming days, like 48 to 51 total days of shooting.
Wow. Yeah. So, and like, if you were gonna film that today with all the stuff outside of the pandemic or COVID times, how would you have done anything differently? Like, with all the people you had on hand, all 60 people, would you have changed? Nothing like ignore the script, but just like working with everyone on set. Like, would you have done anything differently knowing what you know now?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'd say like first I'll start like the technical stuff. Like as far as technical things goes, shooting film, we only used one camera. That sucked because like getting coverage took forever. So if we wanted to get, if we shot a basic scene where it's a dinner table scene, okay, so it's actually, if I do think about it, we had two cameras, maybe like we had two cameras going like 4 or 5 days of filming, but for the majority of the feature, we were using one camera, and it just took a lot of time to get the coverage that we needed. Like shooting a wide and then a medium and then a close up, all three, obviously 3 different setups. That would take a couple hours rather than if we because we didn't shoot it on like an amazing, like we shot it on the GH4. So like that's how many. Kent State has about 4 or 5 of those now. It would have been, if I could go back now, I'd probably use multi cameras. It would just give us a lot more flexibility.
Why didn't you guys back then?
Well, Kent didn't have any GH4s back then, so they purchased them right after that. We did have the C100s, but our director of photography, Paul Moore, just felt a lot better with the GH4. Had a lot. We were able to get Vlog for it, if you're familiar, got more dynamic range. Played with, and obviously we were able to shoot 4K with it. The C100, we couldn't do 4K. So a lot of, we worked with Dave Smelter, Professor Smelter, and we figured out that was the camera we wanted, but unfortunately we only had one that we could use. Technically, on the technical side, I would say that. And then as far as like the other stuff that I would probably change if we can go back and do Fly By Night again, I would really focus more on the character's performance and I guess from a directing standpoint, because I always wanted to do like, let's do like my immediate thing when I was planning for a scene was what cool shots could we do, and that's a lot of people's first idea. And going back to it, I'm like, man, I spent too much time on the technical stuff, and I really should have focused on, is this good story? Like, is this a good story point? Because first off, we're college students. We're not going to make, no matter how hard we try, we're not going to make this blockbuster, amazing looking movie. So that's something that we did not really focus enough on, was the actual like story when we were planning for things. Like we always plan things as far as like lighting and camera, and while that's obviously important, I don't think in the college stage of where we're at, story should always be first. So that was one thing that, like, when I reflect on it, just if I can go back, I'd probably focus more on the story.
Yeah. And you talked about you had Jimmy Naples as a co-director. How was that relationship throughout filming? Like, was it awkward to you? Because I'm sure that was probably maybe have been your first time with a co-director. Uh, how do you look back on that relationship? And did you guys take different leads on certain aspects of the film?
Sure. Yeah, I think that's a good way of putting it. We definitely took, like, there were some days where like either one of us was like hurting or just like hey, yesterday was a 12-hour day and I'm just like that. Like, can you kind of take the reins on this one? And yeah, that really helped because obviously like Jimmy directed short films, I directed short films. The long short films that we directed were 12 to 14 minutes. Fly by Night ended up being like an hour 20. So like the crazy step up that it was for us, it was nice just to have another person, you know. But I mean, at the same time, you also like kind of had to get another person's approval for everything, like costume decisions, shot decisions, blocking. Like, so on that side of things, there were days where we just argued, and it'd be over like tiny things. Like if you ever seen Fly by Night, there's like a scene where basically a character is like ripping off his earbuds and then he's like attacked. And I was like, why would he rip off his earbuds? I feel like he would still have his earbuds on. And it was just like tiny details like that. We were like a bickering couple. I think everybody just kind of like got used to it. And we tried not to like get the crew involved, but we definitely had some heated debates. But we were big. We were doing a lot of like the same vision for it. And you know, like we're both from the same town. We're both from Youngstown, so we had a lot of connections where we filmed a lot of the movie in Youngstown, and we're able to use a lot of people that we know. But yeah, Jimmy's been great, and yeah, he's down in Nashville now doing country music videos and stuff like that, and that's a relationship that we're still, you know, really close, and we talk all the time, even though we're not in the same area. So that's another thing that's really nice about Fly by Night. Just I still have all those relationships. Like the guy that shot Fly by Night, Paul Moore, I just did a shoot with him yesterday. So it's pretty cool. Like that's the best thing about KSUIF. Like every person that was in my group at KSUIF, like that age group and graduating class, I work with them every day, and it's pretty sweet.
Yeah, no, definitely. Because there was a group of 60 people. You got to know them fairly well throughout the project. And how was post-production on that? You said it took a while with sound. That took a while, especially. Would you have changed that process any differently? Like knowing, because you edit your own stuff now with the weddings.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's a different beast, weddings and a feature, but what have you learned from doing those and all of your later stuff? What would you bring to Fly by Night, the post work?
Sure. Yeah. So basically, how the workflow for Fly by Night editing process went, it was a post-production editing class. So they all used Avid, and they would each editor would have a scene. So me and Jimmy would go around the class. We just sit down with an editor and be like, all right, here's the overall goal of this scene. Try to accomplish that here, like with the edit, you know. So if we want to make it look like Martin, who's our main character, if we want to make it look like he's really suspicious, you know, maybe cut to a couple reactions of other people in the scene around him, and we try to communicate that as well. I want to say our lead editor was Matt Ashbrook, and he would always send over kind of like a compiled version of the movie, and we would sit down and watch it. And I think we went through about 16 edits of the full movie, where me and Jimmy would sit through and watch the whole movie 16 times, and 16 different times, 16 different cuts. And that's when we finally got locked picture. And that was, I think we got to the point where we were able to quote the entire movie. But the editing process, the post sound process was really cool. Because that was the first time, because when Unlucky was made, we didn't have Scott Hallgren. So when we have Professor Hallgren, basically, you know, we have those amazing Foley areas and ADR areas. So you know, if it gave us a lot of confidence in case there wasn't some audio that was picked up on set that we were worried about, we can bring in the actors, have them go in the studio, and that worked really well. And then also it was sweet. So Scott did all the music for the movie, and he composed it all, written it out, and then we went to Kent State Stark campus, and they have like a music program, and basically he set up an arrangement of an orchestra, all Kent State Stark students. Me and Jimmy were able to go in and watch, and they basically played the score of the movie as the movie's playing, like in the background, and that was a really cool process to see. Just seeing like even the musicians are students, so like, you know, yeah, obviously like Professor Hallgren had some creative input and all that, but the whole thing was a labor of love by students. Like there wasn't really any, you know, I guess even though we'd like to consider ourselves professionals, there weren't really any professionals that worked on it.
Yeah. After 16 viewings of the film, at least with my work, seeing it more than 10 times, do you start to hate it? Because I just can't even like think of ever watching anything I do again. Not because I think it's bad, just I just can't. But is that how you feel about your stuff, or am I crazy?
No, you're crazy. I'm pretty
Okay.
sure. I don't know the quote exactly, but I know Martin Scorsese said something. He was like, whenever I see the first cut of my like the whole movie that I made, he's like if you don't get physically ill when you see the first cut of your movie, there's something wrong with you. And yeah, I mean the first time we watched Fly By Night, physically ill, physically ill, and like because you're on set and you're thinking all this stuff's like amazing, and the editing process is definitely like it's a lot of fine tuning. It's a lot of taking out scenes that didn't work, and yeah, I mean if you watch your project, it could be any project. If you watch it that many times, you'll just. I mean, if we keep a happy face on because we're the directors, we don't want to be like, hey, we both hate our movie. Come see it. Like, I mean, I don't hate the movie, but like I have the DVD in my apartment. Never like I can't imagine turning it on to actually watch it for fun. Like maybe like to laugh at it, but that's about it.
Right. Yeah, so you keep it in perspective, but you also said like you had kind of like a team of the class of editors. That's kind of a weird process, but you had the main editor go through, I'm sure, all their work, but
right.
That's kind of unorthodox. I never thought that would happen. Like even on a project like your Fly By Night, did you think that was kind of like different too?
Yeah, like we had editors while we were filming as well. So like if we shot a restaurant scene on Monday, we'd give it to the editors, and they'd have dailies Tuesday or Wednesday, and basically that would be a great opportunity for me and Jimmy to sit down. It's not really an edited scene. It's basically like the best takes, and they're all like put next to each other. So me and Jimmy could watch those daily and make sure that we don't have to reshoot the scene. Because there's been times we had to do 2 reshoots, or we did 1 reshoot because one of the scenes we just absolutely did not like how it came out, and we were like, we need to do this again. So luckily, like the editors during the filming process, like that was a great utility to have. The class, it was definitely a little like, I'm sure it's frustrating for like the students in the class as well, because like they all have like their own unique editing style, and we're all telling them what to do. So that was kind of tough, and like some editors were kind of given scenes, you know, that aren't major scenes. You know, it could be like 2 characters talking back on the phone, and like, I mean, everybody obviously wants like the climax scene or like the last scene or the first scene, and it was tough to divvy up that part. And yeah, I mean, that was a tough process. And also what was tough is all the editors were using Avid, and I have no idea how to use Avid. So I couldn't like give them like technical advice. Yeah, because I wasn't even in the class really. I just kind of came in and helped out. I wasn't actually like earning credits to be in that class.
Yeah, it was just a more kind of like, not to say it as derogatory, but like conveyor belt method of completing the film, and then you have someone else who was the main editor to go through and sift through all their work. But yeah, I understand. Like, it probably wasn't even your decision to choose that type of editing, but it's definitely interesting. After the whole process of completing Fly By Night, you took it to a few festivals, right? Or you showcased it at Kent State, or how'd that process go?
Yeah, so that was a good process. So we booked out Cartwright Hall, had a red carpet premiere there, and I think that was pretty much sold out. I want to say like I don't know the amount of people that were there, but it was a good amount. And I would say like what was really cool about that was like we rented like a special projector and we had like this like really cool like looking projector. Unfortunately, a lot of people complained. I don't think the speakers were the best. So like we spent all this time like perfectly mixing the movie. And we're like, yes, like this audio is like perfectly laid over the music, or like this dialogue's perfectly laid over the music. I'm pretty sure that the speakers weren't too great, unfortunately. So that was tough for the grand viewing part. And also what was really tough is the distribution of DVDs. Like a lot of people, like we had a crowdfund really early on. So like, let's say like before the movie was even made, if you donated $25, we would send you a free DVD. And that process kind of got a little messed up. I don't know what happened. I wasn't part of that, but I know a lot of people were frustrated about not getting DVDs. And when we did get DVDs, the DVD that I got is not color graded, so it's completely the vlog footage. Unfortunately, I don't know what happened there, and it's definitely frustrating because we spent like an entire spring break color grading the movie and that stuff. So like Five a Night, like there's pros and cons. I mean, obviously what sucked is like almost everybody on the movie had to quit their jobs and have an unpaid summer. Like we went from May to end of July not getting any income, and we had to pay to obviously we had to pay to make it because it's considered a class. So we made about each person made about negative $2,000 making the movie. So I could tell people that I directed the movie for my pay was negative 2,000, but that's okay. So I mean that's with every project. Like you have to have those pros and cons. And we had a really productive like post-mortem meeting afterwards, and we just laid out. We're like, here's what worked, here's what didn't work. And I mean, if I could go back to it, I mean, Fly By Night was a great process, but I'd probably rather make like 3 or 4 like good short films.
Shorts, yeah.
I mean, because like in college, nobody expects you to make a really good feature film. Like I mean, I want to say we were set up for success, but there was a lot of things that would constantly go wrong, and it was train wreck after train wreck. So you also learn that way as well. So I'm kind of talking in circles right now, but it's like Five a Night. It could be like a hey, my dog is being a
yeah, you're good.
Yeah,
but Five by Night's a big part of your early
much with how
but Fly By Night's a big part of your early career in filmmaking. So sure, there's going to be a lot of problems, but you're a student. Everyone there was a student. Right. So how have you as a director changed since then? Because you said there's a lot of obstacles. How have you improved you yourself as a filmmaker? Because I'm sure a lot of the issues on the project were out of your control, but just what did you learn by those issues until today? Because you're still working on narrative shorts as well as weddings, commercial projects. So how does that carry into your new work, all those improvements?
Yeah, that's a good one. So I would say my approach now, if you don't have a really good pre-production, you're set up for failure. So like pre-production was kind of a mess for Fly By Night. That's the biggest thing. I think what led to kind of a lot of issues in production. So if I have pre-production for a short film, it's probably going to be like 2 or 3 months worth, just because I want to make sure everything. I want to have a shot list. I want to have I want to have fully casted. I want to have all those tiny details when they're taken care of before even your first day on set. It's just so relieving. Obviously, some stuff comes up like for Hooded. When I made that, I had an actor casted, and then the week before filming, he dropped. But luckily, I went to a Kent State theater. I went to a Kent State theater play. I can't remember the name of the play, but I saw Adam Kirk, who ended up being our main character in Hooded, and from that play I casted him, and that was the best thing that could have happened. I mean, so if you're ever looking for actors, I mean, obviously I don't think plays are going on right now, but the Kent State Theater program, those plays are like great spots to find talent. And then for my approach now, like almost every script I do, I try to do a focus group of, like either like diverse voices or someone that is technically that audience. So like, let's say like Hooded, for example, I had a focus group for that. I had about 6 to 8 students, and we actually used the focus group room that's in Franklin Hall. So I was on the other side of the wall. They didn't see me, didn't hear me, whatever. And they basically read through the script and said their initial thoughts. And I feel like that's so nice to hear, because having a script, like vetted and hearing the initial criticism and what they want accomplished with it, that was a great process. So if you ever have the chance to have a focus group, totally do it, because the script is the Bible, pretty much. I've kept, I think, every script that I've worked on since like my freshman year of college, and just have that binder. I still have them in the office just to look through and see the growth, see what like what was going through my mind. And I mean, it's always good to call back to some of the work you did in college for stuff now. So like narrative work now, like I'm writing. I started writing a narrative short film now, and I am kind of I took my work like really serious in college. Like I tried to do like serious subject matter, and like now I'm like, I kind of want to have a little bit more fun with it. I want to like play with the characters and like yeah. I was like, oh, I want to talk about all these social issues, and like you still can do that, but like in like a not a straightforward manner.
Yeah, like, when at least for me, when it's so direct, it becomes like a PSA. So
right.
I and at least a lot of the stuff I've seen at KSU, like just KSU in general, at Kent State, they've just been hammering you over the head. But if you can try to get that in some way indirectly, and I'm sure that's what you've learned, it comes more organically to the audience.
Yeah, and what I learned out of college as well is every like film person like in like that's outside of college or like whatever, they really make fun of alarm clock openings. So if your movie starts with an alarm clock opening, I would reconsider. I did it for one as a web series for KSUIF. It's called Mr. Spectacular. It was the first thing I ever directed as my freshman year. It was my freshman year at Kent. Alarm clock opening. Showed that to the people I work with now, and they're just cracking up because they're like, that's like a million college students' films. So it's just what Scott Holgren would say, food for thought.
Yeah. So, yeah, we've been told that many times here at Kent State, but yeah, just try to avoid that. It's very easy and not very original, but yeah, there's many other things you guys can do. Mm-hmm. So basically just prepare as much as you can in pre-production. Anything during production you've learned, like you talked earlier about working with your actors more. Mm-hmm. Any methods, because in Hooded, I'm sure you treated, like not treated, but just communicated with the actors a lot differently than in Fly By Night. Tell me about that, because you said you found the actor for Hooded at a play at Kent State. How was your relationship with him compared to the actors in Fly By Night?
Yeah, I mean, so like the actors from Fly By Night, like we were able to do screen tests with them. We were able to like do like different like pairings. So like if we had like like 3 people we were really interested with as Claire, and we had 3 people we were really interested with as Andrew, we would bring them all in, and we would have like different pairings and see like who had like the best chemistry, all that. And that was like we had like such a nice like long casting process with Fly By Night. And then like Hooded, like I really only had a week to work with Adam. So the biggest thing working with him was like okay, this is not theater, so you like you're acting with your eyes, like like that's always the biggest thing. I'm like your eyes are telling a story. So like the entire movie, like pretty much every scene I hammered into him. I was like, make sure your eyes are, like telling what your character is going through. And that's a big thing. Like a lot of theater kids kind of have trouble getting out of that like theater like over expression stuff like that. So like I just basically like the eyes of that, and then also with Hooded, like what was really tough was like the so if you haven't seen Hooded, like the best way to kind of describe it is like we see like this main character Micah, and he's coming home, he's coming to the library late at night, and you hear a 911 call. There's a person saying there's a black male wearing a hoodie and jeans, and he just robbed this local diner right by the college, and he has a gun. And this campus alert actually happened when I was at Kent. I was sent out my sophomore year, and it fit the description of my roommate at the time. And I was like, this should be a movie. Like this is unacceptable. Like the amount of danger that this puts on black kids' lives. And so we put Micah, and you have no idea whether or not he did it or not. That's kind of what I was trying to play with. Like he fits the description. He's wearing a black hoodie. He's running late. He's got like all these excuses why he wasn't at the library yet. And like that's one thing as well. I was like play with the audience a little bit. Like you want to show off like that emotion that you are late and you are stressed and there's a lot of things in your head, but like that could be so many different things. It could be an exam. It could be girlfriend. It could be family problems. Like, because we want, like my whole goal like Hooded was like, if we can get the audience to racial profile as well and think that this main character just robbed this bank and is a harm to society, whatever, then we accomplish our goal. So that was kind of what I hammered with it. And then my senior thesis film was The Entertainer, and that was working with another actor, Rob Grant, and he basically, the movie was kind of loosely based off of the life of Robin Williams. And it wasn't necessarily Rob. Like if you take like Chris Farley, if you take John Belushi, like basically all these young comedians who, whenever you see them on TV, huge personality, very happy, and then basically most of The Entertainer takes place in the green room where he's by himself, drunk, having issues with his agent. And I really just try to like split that dynamic because when we shot The Entertainer, we actually have like a late night talk show scene, and for that, when I scripted it, I completely cut out the script like the day of filming, and I was like, you guys just improv. And I was like, Rob, the only notes I have for you is like, I need you to have like very like subtle like snorts, like he basically does a line of coke right before he goes on, and I was like, I need to see like this very subtle mannerisms that you are high as a kite, So if you ever watch like The Entertainer, it's free on YouTube. You can see in those scenes he does like little tiny snorts that like if you were to watch that scene by itself without knowing any of the green room stuff, like you can kind of see that he has issues, but he does like a good job of hiding it. So I feel like like my directing definitely evolved like from project to project. Like I think like directing wise, like Entertainer I'm probably the most proud of, like with working with a singular actor, trying to get as much dynamic range of emotion out of him. I kind of take that into like everything I do now, because even though I'm doing like corporate stuff now and I'm doing like more commercial work, we still kind of have to tell a story, and it's still kind of, I still believe it's filmmaking. I like to convince myself that it is. So if you have a lawyer that's meeting with a car accident victim, you have to like set the scene and get them in the mood and all that. And so I kind of have fun with it because I like to challenge myself with it. So yeah, that's pretty much that.
Yeah. So I'm sure with your later films, other than like after Fly By Night, you had a much smaller crew, other than the 60 people. So and they were all wearing different hats, I'm sure. And do you think that kind of helped you, because you got to know those crew members a lot more personally, and since it was more your child, those projects, you got to select your crew more. They were handpicked, you could say. So, do you think that helped your project as well as working with a smaller crew that were probably more professional, like, and that you had chemistry with them already?
Right. Yeah, definitely. I mean, so Paul Moore, who shot Fly By Night, ended up doing, he shot Hooded and The Entertainer. I just
Oh,
look,
nice.
like we immediately clicked because like whenever we would sit down to talk about like camera and just like the visual look of it, our initial discussion is never like, okay, we need to use like X camera, we need to use X lenses. It's always like, okay, we want it to feel this way, we want the audience to feel this way. You know, we want this feeling of disconnection here, we want this feeling of connection here, and that was just like a really cool thing to find out. Is just like, even though like cinematography is all about camera, all that,
Yeah.
we immediately talked about feeling. And then same thing is like finding like like as a director, like finding a first assistant director that knows how to like bark at you, put
Yeah.
you in your life. Is a lot of shoots, obviously you have very limited time, you have very limited resources. You have to find a first assistant director that is not afraid to, you know, hurt your feelings and cut off a shot if we don't have time for it, or you know, if they think something you're trying to attempt is dangerous and might harm the crew, they can stop it. So I'd say, like, as a director, like, if finding a DP that you really gel with is crucial, because you do not want to be shooting on the day of a set where you are only having a location for a couple hours and your DP is like, no, I don't want to shoot it that way, I want to do it this way, and you're arguing, and that's wasted time. So DP, as a director, you want to have a DP that you work really well with. First AD, and the same thing with like, if I could redo it, I probably would have had like an outside editor just to see like their viewpoint of editing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like editing my own stuff, I was like, oh, man, like, you know, I wonder what another person would do here in this situation. So if you're a director and you have all this footage and you want to find another editor, that's also something that I highly recommend. And yeah, same thing with producer. Like I did produce a lot of my own stuff just because I kind of always have an internal feeling where it's like, is this person like doing everything right, or like have they like, I always want to have all my,
Are they fully committed? Yeah.
right, exactly.
Yeah.
Everybody has like their other projects going on and all that. Yeah, I mean, don't take advantage of your crew. That's the number one thing for me. Like I'm happy. I pretty much never had a shoot that was more than 12 hours in college. And I never, I mean, Fly By Night, but that wasn't on me. Fly By Night, we had a day that was 16 hours. We were blocking out sunlight. That was the climax of the movie. It's like 16 hours. Yeah, I always have food for your crew. So like my general rule, I think it's KSUIF's general rule as well, is like every 6 hours have a meal. So if it's a 6 hour shoot, one meal. Basically, you know, like not just PB&Js, you know, like not, I mean, sometimes we have pizza, whatever, but yeah, being thankful for the crew, that's the big thing, because it reciprocates. You know,
You got putting double time for those extra 4 hours, I hope.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, the biggest thing with college, like, you have to realize is like a lot of people are obviously willing to do free work. Once you're out of college, like my next short film, like I want to pay all the crew members, and like getting that budget, it's difficult because it's no longer a learning experience or a passion project or any other things you could say is like a college short film. Like I can't pitch my films as college student short films anymore. So while you're in college, I hate to say it, and it sounds really weird, but like take advantage of the free crew and free actors. Just make sure they get their stuff for the demo reels or anything like that, because that's a big factor of why people do stuff for free.
Yeah. So take advantage of them, but to a certain degree, and just realize that they have a life outside of your one project.
Exactly.
So yeah, you've been doing a bunch of stuff outside, like during this whole quarantine phase with your commercial projects at your job, and also you're still writing your narrative films, and you're also doing I'm blanking your weddings as well. So, in this time where everyone's being very cautious, how have you been? Like, you're leading some of your work projects, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how have you been?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm a director and editor at Clum Creative in Cleveland, and we basically had a 4-month period where we didn't shoot anything. We had, I think it was like end of March to end of July. Really didn't have any shoots going on. I was pretty much editing for the most part. Um, and once we picked back up editing, we had a lot of precautions, obviously, for COVID. Very limited crew, very limited cast. We would have short days that were split up. Obviously, every day took temperature. And we would always have like so a lot of the work, client work. So basically, what our company is, we're a outside video team for companies that don't have a video team. So let's say, for example, you are a sports goods store and you want a commercial made. You'll hire us, and we'll make the concept of the video. We'll shoot the video, edit the video. And when we go show up to the set, we'll have a specific client monitor. So it's like a big, like 20-inch monitor. Have that set up far away, so the client is kind of secluded, not over our shoulder all the time. That's really big. And commercial and corporate work is making sure that the client is like not over your shoulder at every instance of the shoot. Make sure they're happy, tucked away. And yeah, like a lot of it, like I think the biggest crew we've had on the COVID set is like 4 people. So even though
at weddings and
not yeah, for weddings it's pretty much myself, but like with
okay. Yeah.
With One Creative, we probably have about 4 people on set. So we'll have a producer, and then director, DP, and then we'll have a grip. I mean, a lot of people like the director, for the most part, you're still moving C-stands, setting up lights, like all that stuff. So the biggest advice, if you're like when you're in college, if you want to be a director, that doesn't mean to neglect sound or neglect lighting or neglect any of those, because you're still going to be moving it around, setting it up, and especially like how start now. I haven't been able to do any narrative work right now, just because I don't feel like yeah, we could take the temperature of people on a set and everything like that, but a narrative's different. Like I want to make sure everybody's really on something like that, and I don't think any narrative project right now is worth it, like in these conditions. Like, you know, a lot of people I know have family members with pre-existing conditions, and yeah, that stuff worries me. So with the narrative side of stuff, even though I'm shooting a lot for commercial right now, like narrative stuff, like this is a great time for me for pre-production or writing. I recently just set up like a masterclass account, so you can sign up and get classes by Spike Lee, Martin Scorsese, like a bunch
of
LinkedIn
Learning, but for the people who have big names, essentially.
Yeah, it's only like, yeah, I mean, it's 180 a year, but you're available to every single class that they have on there, so it's not bad.
Yeah.
So narrative stuff, this is not really a shooting time for me. I'm fine tuning my skills that are not production, which is important, and I'm thankful I have the time to do that now. And then obviously with weddings, like that's just kind of like, it's been all over the place, because I only try to get like 4 or 5 weddings a year, because again, it gets like overboard. And I ended up getting 4 weddings all rescheduled to September. So I had 4 this month, and the editing process is just going to be a lot. And weddings are good, like financially they're great. Low commitment. It's only obviously 1 day of shooting, and then editing, you kind of go at your own pace. And yeah, I mean, once you shoot like 1 wedding, like I shot my first wedding senior year of high school, was terrible. I think I used like Nikon like D3200, which is like a kit lens, whatever, or kit setup. And all you need is like a couple of people to like really like that, and then they're like, hey, we're getting married next year. And then you shoot those weddings the next year with slightly better equipment, and then like it's just kind of a nonstop process. And that's what I liked about weddings, is, you know, like that's kind of how I fund gear. Or like if you do weddings, you could fund your next short film, like that kind of that kind of process. And I know a lot of other KSUIF people that also do weddings, and it's a nice side gig for sure.
Definitely. On your commercial side of things, with that type of collaboration on set, what's your role specifically on there? Because you said there's a director, producer, grip. What are you usually in those circumstances?
Sure. Yeah. So I'm
Just
director.
wondering.
Yeah, I'm director.
You're director. Okay.
90% of the time, I'm also handling camera. So.
Okay. Yeah, because you said you have a limited number of people.
Right. Yeah.
Just
It's
multiple hats.
Like budgets that we do videos for. So like we'll do videos anywhere from like $3,000 to $15,000. So I think it's still considered like small budget for commercial stuff. So
yeah,
that's kind of the range that we work in. And yeah, we do a lot of commercials for like lawyers. So we'll do like we're doing a lot of COVID specific videos right now, like response videos. So tomorrow I'm directing a commercial. It's not really a commercial. I'm directing like a social media video for a hospice facility. They're doing like a in memoriam video for all the people that passed away this year.
Yeah.
And that'll be light and fun, and I'm gonna have a very happy day tomorrow.
Yeah.
I think it's like 5 people in that facility that passed from COVID. So that's what I'm doing tomorrow, directing wise. So
and how does that work? Do you have like a sequence of events you plan out, or because there's no script, or I'm sure there's script for like a VO or something, but how's that work? Because it's going to be what, an 8-hour shoot or a 6-hour shoot, and but you have there's no like script that I would think of. So how's your list of events go?
How our company functions, we have a creative director who basically works as like our script writer. So the director comes from like a copywriting background, does a lot of writing for us. And for tomorrow's shoot, there's no technical script. It's basically just like a list of shots. It's mostly like people just like lighting candles, and like the candle like will be like left a frame, and then the person's like picture and like their date of birth and their whatever day they passed will be on the right, and then you see like piano, like soft piano in the background. But like basically how our workflow works, our scripts look like completely different than like a short film or a feature film script. Basically, we do like I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with like the commercial type of scripts, but we do like 2 columns. One is visual, one's audio. So let's say, all right, so it's a 30-second commercial. We'll do open with a voiceover. So we'll do on the audio side, voiceover. Welcome to KNR. We are your car accident attorneys. We are here to help you, and we want to make sure that you were taken care of after your big crash or after your terrible injury. We want to make sure you are fully covered. And so that would be on this side of the column, and on the other side, it'd be like shot of KNR attorney talking to car accident victim in their office and making sure that they are taken care of, smiling, like we always say, like soft smile, like soft smile and nodding. Like really, that's my biggest directing thing with commercials. I'm like, just like smile and nod. So if you ever have to direct commercials, like soft smile and nods are very good.
Yeah, that's interesting, because I never knew how the script process of a commercial worked, but I'm sure for most of your stuff, that's how it goes. Even for your wedding stuff, I'm sure you have your like usual order of events to go through, because you've done a few of them in September. So like, do you try to stick with the same stuff each time and try to make it formulaic in that part? Or like if the bride and groom are doing something like really different that they like traditionally, like for their tradition, like you try to highlight that? But
you basically you just like approach them like their clients as well, and like do a lot of Greek weddings. So a big thing in the Greek, they'll do like a dressing of the groom. So basically, all the groomsmen will put on a different article of clothing on the groom, and like those kind of traditions, like they'll do one where in order to join the dance, you have to throw money on them and they all dance in a circle. But all that stuff, like, yeah, I treat it like pre-production as well. Like I will FaceTime the bride and groom just like this, and I'll be like, is there anything that you guys have planned that I might not know about? Because the last thing you want is like a surprise to happen and you're not ready for it. And that's always a good conversation to have, because they're like, oh yeah, we're gonna leave the reception with like sparklers at like 11 p.m. So then you have to plan like, okay, I can't leave the reception at 10 p.m. I'll have to stick till 11. And that kind of like thing is tweaking as well. Like you can kind of like, all right, I'm gonna charge a little more if you want me to be there a little bit later. Yeah, always making sure that you get like either an itinerary or something like that's completely like you need to be here at this time, and that's always like a big thing as well. And like charging for mileage. If a wedding's an hour away, I'll charge like $50 an hour or something like that for driving. But yeah, like weddings, it's a lot like it's a lot. It actually, like, weddings really fine tune you as like a shooter, because you only have one opportunity to get every moment that happens. Like you can't recreate like whatever like what they say I do. So you like knowing next placements where you can be, and also like just making sure you get a shot no matter what. And a lot of that is standing in front of family members who are mad at you because you're blocking a cell phone camera. But you always have to remind yourself, like if you're filming a wedding, that like the couple paid you. They're not paying the aunt behind you that has her phone out. So if you have to step in front of an aunt with her cell phone, do it.
Yeah. It might be weird that I'm emphasizing your wedding career, but these are kind of like your characters in a film, and this is your story, a wedding, and about the whole process. And you probably, even though it's not your job to make it kind of like a story and like narratively, but I'm sure when you edit your weddings, they kind of come out. There's some underlying theme in there that is the same throughout all your weddings. Just like a film is, like you try to have your theme and it has some structure to it. It's not just meshed together randomly. And same thing with your commercials, you shoot them in a way just like a narrative film. But anyone who has any questions, send them in. We'll talk for a little bit more. And if you have any questions, guys, we'll discuss those. But yeah, it's interesting just how all those processes kind of form you as a director, because I'm sure, just like you said, weddings, you learn something else that you're probably gonna take into your next short, because are you more of you're more of a technical director, I guess, like just by nature, because you started your first wedding, you said you shot when you're in high school. So right. Your way around a camera. So and just you have to work with a lot more clients, and I'm sure that helps you. And just like you said, all your the entertainer itself, that was a very character driven. So that's helping you with working with actors, and that's improving you a lot as a director. So I'm looking forward to your next short, just to see kind of the culmination of all of those talents that you've been forming throughout your short career.
Right.
But we do have a question so far from Mr. MK Alvin, and he says, what was the creative process behind making your film Hooded? So you wrote the script for Hooded.
Mm-hmm.
You said how you got the inspiration, but and you had the hook, but what made you take that to the next level, I guess? So that's what Alvin wants to know. Like,
like what brought Hooded to the next level in the pre-production process was bringing on 2 Black writers. Like I initially I wrote the first draft by myself, and had a focus group with that. And the focus group, they basically, first comment after they finished reading it was, we could tell that this was written by a white guy. And that made me take a big step back, and I was like, what am I thinking trying to write this story? And I was like, I still want to make this story and I still want it to be told, but I don't think I should be the one that's only in only like
That
the
has
only
creative input. Yeah.
right. So like right after that, I took like a huge step back because I was supposed to shoot Hooded. I was supposed to shoot that like October of 2017. Reached out to my crew. I was like, "Hey guys, we're delaying production, and like we just have to take a step back here." And so we took a step back. I brought on Devin White Revere, who graduated with me. He also worked on he also worked on The Entertainer, and then Terrence Liggins, and they both came on to help the script. And they really helped with like the voice and perspective for a main character, Micah. That obviously I never could put myself in that situation as a writer. And that's a really smart thing to do. You know, if you're writing any film that's topical or like represents a community that you're not part of, you should 100% have people in that community involved in that process. Because if I would have made the first script that I put out, the first draft, not had that focus group, not had any black writers or directors involved in that project, it could have gone really badly. And that was not my intention. That very could have been unintentionally a disaster. And that was the biggest part of the creative process. And we basically sat down once a week, just bounced ideas. The ending we always were like struggling with. We're like, it is like does he get killed by cops? Does he not get killed by cops? So like, I won't spoil it if people still want to watch it, but we felt the ending for Hooded ended the way it needed to, because we wanted to convey a certain message of racial profiling and how often it happens. So that was the best part of the creative process. And then also what was sweet is the song that plays in the credits is an original song by a Kent State rapper about like being a black youth and dealing with police that don't respect you. So that was really cool. Like we had like an original song that was playing in the short film. So that was really the best part of that creative process.
Awesome. Yeah, just hear like what are the major differences from the first draft to the later draft?
Yeah,
those
initially, like what made them all say that it was written by a white person was like I had Micah, the black college student in the film.
Yeah.
I had him face to face the cop, and he runs away, and they were like, he would never run away. Like if like from the black perspective, that's the last thing you'll do. I mean, yeah, there probably is like, I'm sure there's some instances where like it might happen in real life, but that the first
from those students, like
they were face to face and he runs away. So like the new version, like he hears the siren runs, and then that kind of like evokes a little bit more fear and hiding. But that was basically the
same message, but just said a different way.
Yeah, same. Yeah, exactly. Like situational awareness.
Yeah, but yeah, that's an interesting thing that I'd like to take into my projects, just a small focus group. How'd you get the idea of that? Were you told about like, that's a good idea for this specific topic and you're doing this? You said you're taking that into your later projects as well. So what made you really identify and want to use that?
Yeah, because like, I mean, I put just like a ton of time into the projects that I work on, and like to not get like people's unbiased like opinion, like you're not in the room. I just feel like that's like an opportunity that you just don't want to miss out on, because you like the worst thing is like getting feedback on your movie after it's already been made. Like, hey, what if you did this? Like, oh well, we can't. We don't have the crew. This guy has a beard now. We don't have any money. That location doesn't exist anymore. So getting feedback on the script before you even shoot it is crucial. And I mean, like the focus group room, like I don't even remember how we got. I think we got it for free. I forget how that worked. I don't know. I think we worked with like whoever was in charge of Franklin Hall's like like room keys at the time. We were like, hey, can we use it for like an hour at like 6 p.m.? And we brought all the people in the focus group. We brought them Gyro pizza. We're like, you guys can get pizza totally, and and they were all like, all the people in the focus group got special thanks credit in the movie. So like in the credits, they're all credited. And I mean, yeah, and then it's also just important to make sure like those are people that are your audience or are like your main character. Because if you bring in, if I would have brought in 4 guys that were also white guys that never experienced racial profiling, like they would have just probably had no comments worth saying, right?
Yeah, you would have just been down a few bucks from the pizza, but yeah, that was a great question, Mr. Alvin, and thanks for asking it. I don't see any other questions, so is there anything you would like to leave our watchers with, Nate, about just your how you look to further evolve your uh, process as a director in your future projects? Like, what are you looking to improve personally?
Yeah,
You already have it.
yeah. I mean, dialogue's like nails on a chalkboard for me. It's the hardest thing. I'll have conversations with myself with it. I haven't like developed a voice yet as a writer. Like the dialogue's always been number one. I need to get better at dialogue. I read a lot of like Aaron Sorkin. I know he's like a big big dialogue guy. Obviously, if you want to get like really quirky with it, you can read like Wes Anderson or Tarantino. But I mean, you also don't want to mimic them because
we want your voice, Nate.
Exactly right. So I'm still finding the voice. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think the process for that, and then also like with writing is like the toughest thing with like as a director right now, is like, are the stories that I want to tell like worth telling? And like I don't want to be like this like really woke like basically like this is like the prime time of, like minorities to go out and direct projects that like tell like stories of minorities, and like I would love to like help produce projects like that right now. Like if like a year from now or 2 years from now, like if I start like developing into a producer role and like help like 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 a lot of groups that don't have like much of a voice and help them make their projects, like that'd be awesome. I know like that's like the role that Brad Pitt has started to take a lot, is like he'll help like fund or produce like stories that are told by like members of underprivileged communities. And I think that'd be really, really rewarding. And that way, I'm still involved in the filmmaking process. So I'm always open to an opportunity to produce like within the year or two. What's been tough, like out of college, so I've been out of college for like a year and a half now, and I mean, like as much as you love like narrative film and want to keep making like short films and stuff like that, like I've never made a single dime directing a narrative film. So like that's what's tough about it, is like it's your passion, and I mean you have to store money away, but nobody, if you find people to pay that'll pay you to make a narrative film, do it immediately. And that's the toughest thing, is like music videos and narrative films. Those are like two of my favorite things to make. And probably over the matter of the past 2 years with music videos and narrative films, I've made about $300. And I mean, it's not about the money. Obviously, like it's a great experience, but like at the same time, like it's definitely like, sure, it's discouraging, like because you're like, oh my god, why is there no money in what I want to make? But that's what like if you have the opportunity to work in commercials and corporate and all that, you can fund your projects in that way as well. And like you always have to have like a long-term goal. So like long-term, you either move to Nashville, Atlanta, or LA. Atlanta, a lot of KSUIF ties in Atlanta. I want to say about 3 or 4 people that I know are working pretty steadily down in Atlanta down there. Nashville, Jimmy Naples and Alex Beswick are down there. They're both fly by night entertainer guys. LA, who's in LA now? The former president of KSUIF, Anna Eliopoulos. She works on like that SWAT TV show. I forget what it's called. I forget what it's called. She was president of KSUIF
too.
A while ago. She's out in LA. A lot of actresses or a lot of actors and actresses are out in New York City. So the KSUIF like community is all spread out. I wish there was a way like we could all keep in contact better. I know like it's tough now, but yeah, like everybody that I've worked with from KSUIF, I'm still in contact with. So like this group is the best resource that I had, and I mean Hooded was not a class project for me. So like I was never like in a class and like we need you to write a short film, and like so don't wait for someone to tell you obviously to write a short film. If you have story that you want to tell, just go out and do it. I did Hooded like on the side, didn't get any like credit for whatever on any class. And yeah, I mean that's been the only film of mine that made it into like actually like somewhat big festivals and festivals as well. Like here's a big thing with that is like you're gonna want to submit it to really big ones, and you'll find out how expensive it is. And just don't do it. I mean, unless like if you feel really confident about your work and it's like there's like a student, if there's a student category and you feel pretty good about it, do it. I think for Hooded and The Entertainer on like festivals, I spent about $1,500 and I got into a total of 4 festivals. And yeah, so just yeah, don't be like me. Like if a lot of festivals say no off the back, kind of like lower your expectations, because all you want is an audience. Who cares what if it's Sundance? Amazing. If it's this local film festival in middle of nowhere Iowa, sweet. Like you can put like a laurel on your movie poster that says like my film got into a film festival. So that's my if I leave one last tip of advice, don't waste a lot of money on film festivals, because I submitted to like Toronto and that was like $90, and I submitted to like Sundance and that was like $70, because you always have like that like this is my big
there's a chance.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's like it's out there. But like here's the thing though, is like unfortunately we have to think that we're competing with the obviously NYU, USC, like UCLA.
Yeah.
Like that's just tough because like those guys, it's like they already have so many industry ends. But yeah, don't make the films for the awards, because it's very discouraging. Get a lot of noise, but once you get like really thick skin about the nose, then you're good. Like you're fine.
Yeah. That said, Nate, where can we find you? I have on the lower banner your website, your Instagram. Any other place that we could find you that I don't have right there?
Yeah, I mean, I can give you my email. If you guys need my email at all for like any questions or anything like that, I don't know. I could probably put it in the comments. Is that right or no? Am I able to type?
I could type it, but
yeah, my email is just nateshivelyfilm@gmail.com. Any questions or I mean, the company I work at. It's weird that we don't take interns. I wish we did, like an internship program. But yeah, nateshivelyfilm@gmail.com. You can contact me there. I don't live in Kent anymore. I'm up in Cleveland now. But if you guys are ever, like, if anyone's ever up in Cleveland and want to like check out, like Cleveland Camera Rental, it's a really cool resource up here. Like the Cleveland Film Commission. Yeah, I mean, Instagram is pretty much the thing that I use the most. Like that's pretty much my resume. Like I never really like update my actual like like PDF resume or whatever. I pretty much just post my work on Instagram and use that as a resource. That's pretty much what I've noticed in the industry. And then also just like a demo reel. So yeah, really just fine tune your demo reel as well. But yeah, just message me on Instagram or check me out on my email, and we can totally talk more.
It was great talking to you, Nate, and learning about your process and your evolution and your further development as a director. This has been our little speaker selection with Nate Shively. Uh, we may have one next week. We're looking for new speakers, so it was great having Nate, and we'll see you guys next time. Thank you all.